Welcome to the Press Box. I'm Ryan Thornburn, joined as always by Steve Mims. The Alamo Bowl is almost upon us. We're at the Friday morning press conference between the head coaches, Mark Helfrich and Gary Patterson. Mark did a really nice thing to Gary and announced during this press conference that he was going to go ahead and make Matt Lubick the new Oregon offensive coordinator. Patterson still had to answer a bunch of questions about Trevon Boykin being suspended, but good for Matt Lubick to get that promotion and get that out of the way now.
Yeah, it's kind of what everybody expected, just because we've seen it so often. Whether it was, Chip Kelly came in since he came in from the outside as offensive coordinator. Obviously, he promoted Helfrich, brought in Helfrich, and then Helfrich promoted Scott Frost, and now Matt Lubick. So, kind of what we all expected. But there was a thought that hey, maybe he'd look around, and maybe he did. He had talked about that there had been some candidates, but in the end, I just think he liked kind of the continuity that they've got as a staff.
Yeah, they still have a position to fill. Obviously, with Frost leaving, they'll have to sort out who to hire. It sounds like Mark's excited about some maybe outside candidates to be quarterback's coach or receivers coach, and it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But I think Matt Lubick is a great choice. He's a very sharp guy. He has experience on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. The players love him. He's a tireless worker, and his father, Sonny, is a legendary coach, so he comes from a great family too.
Yeah, and we'll be interested to see. You talk about there is still a hire to make when you promote one guy. Do they maybe kind of look at Lubick and kind of his history? Obviously, he's been at Duke and some schools like that. Does maybe he have somebody that he feels comfortable working with that he'd like to bring in and can kind of ingratiate to the staff? So it will be interesting to see. There's also talk of does Nate Costa get promoted? Be interesting to see what they do to fill that one spot. If they kind of go from inside, if they look outside, or maybe for somebody on that Mark knows or that Matt knows.
The other interesting nugget entering the Alamo Bowl is, we thought this would be an audition of sorts for Lubick. It's not. He's going to be calling the plays, and he's the offensive coordinator. But Mark was asked about Don Pellum. Oregon had a tough time on defense this year, and point blank, is Don going to be your defensive coordinator next year? He did not answer that direct question with a direct answer. He just said everyone needs to get better, starting with me.
Yeah, he kind of went around, like you say, and maybe he just was going to give that kind of a statement anyway, but certainly if you would think that he, when you hear that question and you're bringing Don Pellum back, you do say, yeah, we're bringing him back. You just kind of put that away. The fact that whether he didn't hear it or just chose to go around it leads you to, if nothing else, it just leaves a mystery out there, through the end of the season at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that and how Oregon's defense responds with all this time to prepare, and now Boykin's out. You'd think Oregon could end their defensive season on a high note. Maybe the secondary is a strength next year instead of a weakness. Just quickly, what is kind of your storyline for the Alamo Bowl that you're going to be looking at as the game in terms of the actual game?
Yeah, I think now it just sort of comes down to the interesting thing to see, not just, with Boykin and Dotson being gone, but as TCU come, we've seen in bowl games, some teams come pretty excited to play and some aren't. TCU's saying all the right things that, they had a great practice yesterday. They're ready to go without him, but certainly seems like it could be one of those situations where, particularly if Oregon gets ahead early, TCU could kind of toss it in. There's just so much that's been taken away from them without Boykin. Or do they come out and get fired up? Maybe Bram throws a couple, he threw a couple touchdown passes in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma. Maybe he throws a couple in the first quarter and they're ahead and they're into it. But I do think it'll be interesting to kind of take the temperature of TCU early on and see if they're here to play or not.
So after a week on the Riverwalk, I'm certainly ready for this game, and we're almost within 24 hours, so we'll talk to you afterwards. Thanks for tuning in.